Hello students. So in today's video, I'd like to introduce two very useful formulas that you can actually use in Excel, right? And it allow us to actually do very quickly to look up any values based on a certain reference. And in my opinion, it's so flexible, it actually replaces some of the VLOOKUP and XLOOKUP formulas, and you can actually do the same thing just by combining these two formulas together, right? So these two formulas that we're going to use, now rather these two functions that we're going to use is called the index and the match. So let me introduce them to you, right? So here on my screen, I have a simple index match. So what happened is in cell C3, I have programmed it such that I can select countries, okay, on the from B7 to B16. So this is a list of the ASEAN countries. And next to it is actually the population of these countries recorded in the year 2021. So what I want to do is as I select the countries uh, in the cell C3, I want the value of the population to be returned in the cell C4. So I'm going to key in some formulas in C4, right? And how do I do that? To Let's begin by understanding index. So let's say, okay, I have Singapore selected. So if I go index, right? So you can read the description. It returns a value or reference of a cell at the intersection of particular row and column in a given range. So how does it work? If I open up the bracket, it gives more information. So the first argument that I'm going to put in is actually the array, right? Followed by the row number and the column number. And the column number is only if necessary. That's why it is in the square bracket. So the array, where it will tell us where I want my information to come from, where I expect it to come from. So in this case, I want the population, which means now the array will be here, right? Where I highlighted from C7 to C16. So this is where I expect my answer to actually come from. Okay. Now, next it says the row number. So I'm going down the row and say, okay, Singapore is in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Eighth row, right? So if I put 8 here, and then no, there's only one column here, so I don't have to play around the column, close the bracket, and it gives me the population of Singapore, right? So if I go back to my formula and if I change this, let's say now I want to find the population of Indonesia. Indonesia is the third row, so under the row number, I change it to 3, right? So I get the population of Indonesia. So that's how index work. Very straightforward. It looks through an array that you actually define, and then it goes down. Which row do you want to return, right? So on itself, index doesn't do very much, right? It just return the value based on what you actually ask for. But the next one that used in combination is called a match, and it makes things so much better, right? So how does match work? Okay, so matching will try to actually match the data that you want with what I actually define in another certain cell. So let's take a look. So over here, you'll notice that just now under the index, if I want to find the population of a different country, I actually change the row number. So now instead of just hard coding the row number, I want to use another formula, right? Match, to try to match for me what is actually inside the cell C3, right? The country that I've selected. So if you read the description, it says it returns the relative position of an item in an array that matches a specific value in a specific order. So it returns the value, exactly what we want. We want to return a value and have the value here, right? The value in this case is the row number. So how do I do that? Okay, so if I open up the bracket, what does it look up? It asks for first the lookup value, right? So the lookup value in this case will be the cell C3. So I'm going to select C3. And then it asks for the lookup array. So the lookup array will be where, right? Which part of the formula I mean, which part of the spreadsheet am I looking for this Singapore, right? So I'm looking at B7 to B16, which is where all the countries are. So that's where I'm looking at. And then there's a match type, right? So match type, there's some description here. Okay, so over here it is looking for something that's less than, because what happened is when we are comparing values, right now I'm just comparing a string, right? So a string, I don't have much issue. But if I'm comparing a numerical number, sometimes I want to search for something that's less than a certain value or greater than a certain value. In which case, I put 1 or -1. But if I want the exact value, exact match, which is what I want over here, I should put a 0 over here to represent exact match. So I'm going to do that, right? And then after that, close my bracket. Okay. Excel is trying to close my bracket from, there we go, Singapore, right? So now if I go back here and I select another country, let's say Myanmar, okay, it gives me the correct value over here, Thailand, etc. All right, so that's the first one. Now, let's look at example 2, right? Example 2, this time round, I have what we have something very quite common in the classroom, which is a duty roster of some students in the classroom trying to clean up the room, right? So this time round, instead of just having one criteria, I have multiple criteria, right? I have a duty task and day of the week, and then I'm the person on duty over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put index, right, as usual. And then this time around, the array, where do I look for the duty personnel? Okay, this time around, you got the whole space over here, right? All the way from C8 all the way to G12. This entire area here will be where I'm looking for my answer, right? And then for the row number and the column number, I'm going to use match, right? Match. And then what am I looking for, right? So I'm going to match the task duty, right, which is C3. Okay, I'm going to match it against this portion over here, right? Arrange the furniture, clean the whiteboard, off the switches, sweep the floor, wipe the windows over here. So this is where I want to look for. And then the match type is 0. So this is the role that I'm going to look for, right, under the duty task. So from there, I'm done here. Let's close the bracket. And then for my column, this time around the column, I'm looking for Monday to Tuesday. I'm sorry, Monday to Friday. So I'm going to match it against C4, which is the day of the week, right? Oops, let me type in the value first. I want to type match, okay? And I'm matching C4. And the range that I'm looking for is here, Monday to Friday, highlight that. The match type, again, I want the exact match. So close my brackets. And oops, let's see if it works. Because now there's nothing here. So duty list, let's see if I say clean the whiteboard and clean the whiteboard on Thursday. Who is that? Yeah, it's Gary, right? So you can try it out. It should work. Okay, so that's the second task. What happens when you're multi-criteria? So instead of just matching the rows, you also match the column. Okay, moving on to the third example. Here, what happens if we have three criteria now, right? Even more criteria. So in this case, a situation where I have 5 companies here and they have some dividend paid every half a year. So first half of the year, second half year, 2024, 2023, and 2022, and so on, right? So once again, this is let's say the company, I will choose, let's say Bogle, right? In the year, let's say 2024, second half of the year, so H2, how much dividend do they pay? So that's what I want. So let's see if it works. I'm going to put index, right? So where do I expect my value to come from? It comes from this entire section here, from C10 to H14. I'm going to highlight it. And for the row, same thing. The row is straightforward. I'm going to match whatever is in C3, which is the company name, and I'm going to search for it from here, right? B10 to B14. This is where I'm going to search for the company, right? And the match type is once again 0. I want the exact match. Okay, so I close my bracket. Now the next section, the column. This time round, the column, what I'm going to have is I'm going to match again, right? Now the value I'm going to look for is over here. Okay, but this time round, I'm looking for the year and the period, right? Whether is it the first half of the year or the second half of the year. So I can actually use ampersand, right, to look for this and this. Okay, so I'm going to match both the year as well as the period, whether it's the first period, first half of the year or second half of the year. And the array that I'm going to look for will be, again, I can use ampersand. So I'm going to look for the year here. And I'm going to look for the period over here, right? Match type, again, 0. And let's see what works. There we go. Let's check. Boggle 2024, $846, right? So if I change this to the first half of the year, it toggles to 479, etc. Let's try the year 2022, right? Let's say another company like Meta, right? So it works. It toggle accordingly. So this is how we can actually use a combination of index and match together to have this kind of very powerful search feature when we are planning out our spreadsheet. All right. Hope you learned something today. So with that, wishing you having a nice day ahead. Bye.